Hi, it's Araminta Matthews, your professor for EDT598. Introduction to Developing Websites for Educators and perhaps small business owners, or really anyone who is just kind of new and wants to make a basic website. Now, in this class, I have two fundamental things that I want to make sure you are aware of on day one. First, when I ask you to do any practice in our class at all, you are, by virtue of being in an online class using a learning management system, you are creating mini websites. Now, I have a video that shows you that in multiple places on our course site. If you have access to the text editor in any of your assignments, whether it's a discussion, a quiz, an assignment, any place where you have that text editor where it allows you to change your font or to insert files, that is you creating a website. So if I ask you to practice, you can actually practice right there in our course materials, right there in the discussion board. And I have a video that shows you how to do that. I've posted it in announcements, I've posted it in the syllabus area and in our first week of classes. So you really can't miss it. So that video shows you how you can make a basic website to practice some of the skills we'll be learning right here in the learning management system. You don't have to go out and buy a WordPress or a Squarespace domain or anything like that. You can just practice right in the LMS. Now, having said that, there are some limitations. So because we are a learning management system, the materials that we use or that we try to do, there are some limitations. For instance, we don't have access to cascading style sheets. That means cascading style sheets are like an umbrella of styles that allow you to say, hey, every time I say the letter B, I want you to make everything the color blue. And then when you're doing your HTML coding, you're not going to do a lot of coding in this class, but we'll talk about that. But when you're doing your HTML coding, every time you say B, the cascading style sheet says, hey, that's a B. I got to make that blue. And you don't have to tell HTML every single time, hey, color equals blue, or give the hexadecimal code for blue. It's cascading. We don't have that in an LMS. So when you are asked to practice, you will be asked to practice at a more basic level. There's also some locks, some things that are blocked out because it's a learning management system operated by the UMain system. You will not be able to bring in third-party materials like Edpuzzler or Slidio or anything like that because they haven't necessarily been vetted by the UMain system as safe software. So for some practice elements, you may have to go outside of the course, and it really is up to you what you use because the project for you at the end of this course, I want to be something that's meaningful to you. Now, some of you will make a Google site. Be warned, a Google site is a lot more like a glorified Google document than an actual website. You don't have a lot of coding power and you don't have a lot of power over what goes into it. That's okay though. If that's all you need, that's what you'll make. Some of you might get Weebly sites, which are free resources, and it's the same scenario. When you're using a source like that, there are limitations to what you can and cannot do. And some of you might go all in, purchase a domain, set up a website using something like Squarespace or WordPress. That's totally fine. You can go as deep as you want. That brings me to the next point I want to make sure is explicitly clear for all of you. You will find that there is a lot of reading in this class, and I want you to hear this loud and clearly, please. You do not need to read everything I assign. That's right. Just because it's assigned reading does not mean you need to read it. And let me explain why. We are web designers and web developers in 2025 when AI can generate a website for us, when tools like Canva can make a beautiful website right out of the gate, when we can use Inspect Element on just about any browser and look at the code that it used, copy and paste that code into our website without even needing to really know what the code means, plug in whatever we need to replace for a picture, and bam, you've got a website. So you don't really need to read a book cover to cover to be a web designer in 2025. I've done my best to provide you with the resources I believe will at least give you the foundation of materials you need. However, you don't have to read everything. So as you're going through each week and as you're completing the assignments, here's what I want you to think. I want you to think, what is she asking me to practice this week? What do I have to demonstrate or deliver? What am I actually doing? You might be asked to create something that checks on the user data exchange so that you can make a source or a website that makes sure your student data is protected. You might be asked to make something that is accessible or that puts an alt tag on an image. You might be asked to make a video and plug that into a web page. Whatever it is you're being asked to do, the materials that I assign for reading wrap around that. So really, what I want you to do is skim until you find something that is helpful to you or that will help you answer maybe the discussion prompt. Maybe flag some things that you think you might need later, like if you know your project down the road is going to need to be for a class that has accommodated students or that has specific details or elements to it, flag it and read it later when you need it. But right now, I want you to think like a web designer. And web designers in 2025 are all hackers, and I say that with a white hat on, meaning a very happy-go-lucky, good way of hacking, meaning we use what's available to us in a good and healthy way, and we apply it to what we have because it's working smarter, not harder. So while you have a lot of assigned reading, you only need to read what is necessary to complete what you're being asked to demonstrate. So I want you to bear that in mind, and that is one of the reasons I emphasize every week, set a timer, 4 to 6 hours. 8 hours if it's a big project, 2 or 3 hours if it's a lighter week. Whatever it is, I don't want you to saturate yourself unless you want to. That's up to you, challenge by choice. So welcome to EDT598. I really look forward to having you all this semester. As you can see, I am a classroom teacher myself in addition to an instructional designer. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.